This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot and Michigan Rob. Of course, I am your host, BMR. Thanks for everybody that's coming on in this afternoon and spending some time with us. I've got in Studio B, of course, Tex Wesson. And I've also got Studio C out in Idaho, Brent Thomas from the Paranormal Portal. We're going to talk a little cryptid connections tonight, or this afternoon, or whenever, the daytime, nighttime. They all run together for good old BMR, as most of you know. So thank you for coming on in. Don't forget to hit that like button. Do appreciate it. It does help the algorithm. And before we get started with this awesome show, I want to remind everybody to turn on your alert bells. We've got so many shows throughout the week. Subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube if you're new. Brent Thomas from the Paranormal Portal, if you're new to Brent over there. Texas Front Porch, Donnie Cho Says Stuff, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World, The Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, Truth or Tin Foil, and the Diva Dimension, or Tea Time with Diva, I think it is. She's on YouTube. So thanks in advance. Paranormal Paul, I think I sent him as well. Give him some love. He's getting close to 1,000 subs, so that'd be cool if you helped him out. Also, what's really cool is everybody's bought my books, as you all know. Bigfoot Mr. Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1 and Book 2, both found on Amazon. All you need to do is type Bigfoot Mr. Rob in your Amazon browser, and you can find both of them. And thank you for that. Thanks for the folks that did buy it. If you did buy the book, please, everybody, leave a review. It does help promote book sales. Everything's analytics these days. So thank you. You can find us on Spreaker, wherever podcasts are found, including iHeartRadio. So thanks for that. The Super Chat's open. Great way to help support what we all do around here. You can become a BMR pirate. Join today. Join the many. Join the few, depending on your point of view. So thank you in advance. Donations not expected, but always appreciated. And a little bit of other business we got to take care of here. We've got the Crossing Realms Conference heating up. When I say heating up, it's heating up. The ghost hunt is sold out. And, the hotel room, many folks are staying at the Super 8 in Missouri. And I got to tell you, that's booking up too. We got a special discount for folks that are attending the conference. So if you're coming, give the Super 8 in Richmond a ring if you're coming on down, if you're planning on coming on down. We've got a great lineup. We've added Brian Bowden as a speaker and Miguel from Sasquatch Theory. They're yet to make the banner. That's in the works by the ever-working Jason McLean. Thanks to Jason for all his hard work behind the scenes with these banners, these posters, and everything else we have going on. This is sponsored by Doug Hijack from Monster Quest, as well as Para with the Normal. Our lineup includes Josh Hurd, Heather Mosier from Small Town Monsters, Frankie and Dan from the Haunted Garage. They'll also be bringing a haunted car to the event. Of course, y'all know Tex Wesson. He is the master of ceremonies. Greg Ogles will be there, filmmaker, researcher. William Lunsford, he is the Falk Monster Hunter, also a TV personality, along with author and researcher Ronald Murphy, Lady Anne Celine, author, researcher, Dr. Dean Bertram. He'll be giving a great show on the UFOs. Check him out. He'll be there. Special guest again, there's more than this already. We've got Dana Stricker, Ken Gerhard, Brent Thomas, of course, from the Paranormal Portal. Go check out him once again. But it also includes the other featured guests, you guys, is Ryan Edwards, Mike Familiant, Christopher Garantino, Linda Eastburn, David Glidden, and of course, I already mentioned Miguel. So that's going to be fantastic. So everybody, get your tickets, go check it out on Eventbrite, and I appreciate that. And I do believe that's it for the announcements. I'm going to bring up Mr. Wesson here. Hey, Tex, what's happening, buddy? You're on mute, of course.
Of course.
What's up, buddy?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just rolled out of bed. I do sleep. But,
you do sleep, Tex. I don't know how you do it, but kudos to you.
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah,
I'm fixing to pump the brakes on this stuff anyway. I mean, it's, you know.
Well, hey, buddy. I mean, you
know, you can have too much of a good thing, right?
You know what? You can. Sometimes if you're sometimes overexposure, is whatever. I don't know, man. You do you, and we all do ourselves. Another guy that does himself, that came out totally wrong. Thanks, Sinfully. Sinfully has been a member now. She's a BMR pirate now for 2 months. Thank you, Sin. Love you. And I think you found me from Brent. I think that's correct. So I stole one of Brent's people. Just kidding, Brent. I'm gonna bring up Brent. Hey, buddy.
Thanks for that great introduction, Rob.
Yeah, well, you are Bigfoot Mission Brent now.
Joining the few, the proud.
I will give you a better Brent Thomas. I met this guy 8 years ago on the Paranormal Portal. I did a call-in with Brent. I did my story, and after that, we became fast friends. How's that? And Brent is fantastic. Brent Thomas has not only a YouTube channel, but he's got the Paranormal Portal podcast, which is like blowing up across America. I can't believe none of you have even heard it yet. Of course, I'll be featured on it pretty soon.
That's right. Thanks for having me, brother. Always a pleasure to be here. And yeah, I donned the pirate gear just in light of
you
the
you
ceremony.
not? Yeah. You normally got that other hat that you wear. I don't know what you call the hat you typically wear. Is that a kangaroo style reversed?
Kangle. Yeah, it's a
kind
of a beret, but I always wear it backwards.
Yeah. See, everyone's got their trademark. I got the bandanas. You got your Kangle. And of course, Mr.
I appropriated the bandanas now, so this might be a new thing.
There you go. Yeah, it might be a new thing. I might have some. I'm planning on having some actual BMR logo headgear for the folks in September for the conference. Of all the things that I try to sell, I mean, I got stuff on my store, but it's whatever. There's some glassware, some T-shirts, but quite frankly, Teespring, it's not where it's at. It's hard. It's trying to build that up. Tex knows this. Go to Tex's account. He's got 1,000 T-shirts.
Oh, nice.
He does, but I think we're all collectively going to come up with a different place to go because it's too expensive, I think. And I'm just saying that. I'm not slamming Teespring. It's just, we can do better, I think. And of course, Tex always promotes his. I've never seen Tex. Well, I personally have seen Tex without the Texas cowboy hat on, which is, of course, his trademark look as well.
Sure. We're kind of the hat crew, aren't we?
Yeah, we kind of are,
Yeah.
Even the girls, well, except for Krista, they wear like the girls wear hats of some sort during the shows. And
sure.
Well, Donnie Cho goes with his traditional clean cut look.
Sure.
But anyway, and Tex, I was going to ask you this. I know the answer, but for our audience, do you wear the cowboy hat 24/7 when you go to the gas station, go out to the restaurant? You always sport the cowboy hat. Is that a Texas thing or your thing?
Oh, it's both, I guess. I mean, I grew up wearing one, really, so it's just me.
No, I know it's you, but I was just asking that if In Texas, is everyone sport at Texas a cowboy hat is what I'm asking.
Well,
Is it like half the population or depends where you live in Texas?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's, I guess it depends. I'm sure you see more here than you would most places, you know,
Okay.
but it's just, I mean, it's just part of our culture, I guess, down here. But yeah, I to me, this is like wearing a ball cap.
Mm.
Yeah.
That does make sense. Yep, I could go with that.
You know, the only reason I ever started wearing a hat, honestly, is I mean, I got a full head of hair, but it was just because
Rub it in.
my my hair is thick and wiry, and either I got to use like a pound of gel or I just use a hat, because otherwise it's doing this whole Einstein thing all the time. So I'm just like done. And that's just where it all started with me. It's like, oh, I just look like hell. Put on the hat, and yeah, it just kind of became a thing. Weird enough.
You know, interesting that we all come up with these looks with the headwear. I don't wear a bandana outside the show too often. If I go to a public, you know, like a conference, I wear the headband and stuff. But
Sure.
when I'm at home, I'm chilling out. You know, I shave my head. I'm, you know, bald, you know. But I don't even know. I did my very first show at Tex, and I said, man, I'm gonna do something different. I threw on the headband, and it's just kind of caught on. Once in a while, I'll wear a beanie, like in the wintertime,
Yeah.
you know, with supporting my Detroit Lions and stuff. And once in a while on somebody else's show, I might wear a ball cap.
Yeah.
But pretty much, you know, I don't really wear headgear. I don't.
Well, you know, it's like Superman could put on the glasses to be in disguise. Now all we got to do is take off our hats, and nobody knows who the hell we are.
Well, you know,
You know, it's funny you say that. I went to a kind of like a conference in San Antonio one time. It was an award ceremony where it was, and I was sitting in the lobby of the hotel where everybody was meeting, right? And I walked in and I sat down on the couch and I took my hat off, you know, and I'm just sitting on the couch and kind of watching everybody come in. And everybody was there was a whole group of people come in, and it was Zach, good friend of mine, and his whole group. And I hear somebody talking, the group of them talking, and this woman goes, Tex is really going to be here? And somebody goes, yeah, he's right over there. Where? You know,
and you're
did
right
not
there.
recognize me without my hat.
Yeah. Put on
Did
the
not
hat.
recognize me without my hat.
Yep.
I was like, what? Really? You know, because I mean, this is, you know, kind of sticks out like a sore thumb too. So, but
Yeah, you know, and I remember that. I remember that at the conference, one of the conferences, you didn't have your hat on for just a moment, and you were right there, plain as day. There's Tex right there. I had to say, you took your hat off for whatever the reason. You put it on.
Right.
Oh, there he is. And no, Debbie, this is not a show about hats. I don't know if you're new or here. We just don't get into the meat of it. We like to, on all the shows, we kind of go through a BS session, you know, to kind of wait for more people to come in and, you know, put a little personal spin on the show.
Just rename the episode, Rob. It's the BMR hat attack.
Well, you know, the BMR head attack, you know, today's show is kind of about paranormal cryptid and the connection.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody seen the Hat Man?
You know, here's the thing. I haven't physically seen it like in my waking life, but I'm going to tell you guys a story. I swear to God, hand to God, true story. But when I was younger and I was in my teen years, I would have this reoccurring dream of this man, and he kind of, just a picture, give you guys a picture of what this guy looked like. You remember Poltergeist 2, that old preacher guy that really creepy preacher guy with that flat hat, always dressed in the black and stuff. The guy looked like that, except this was long before Poltergeist 2 came out. And he was bigger though. He wasn't like as emaciated as that old guy in that movie, but he would come in my dreams, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get away from him. And he would taunt me, and these would be very lucid dreams. And I knew I was in control of the dream, and I could like imagine like I could jump, super high or be super strong and super fast. And no matter what I did, he would be right there. And he said, you can't escape me. And he would just terrorize me. Now this went on and on and on and on. And finally it was like I kind of outgrew it. Now, the interesting part isn't that, but I'll tell you what, Sheldon came along, my oldest son.
Okay.
And when he hit his teen years, he said, Dad, I keep having this weird dream. And I'm like, what is it? He said, well, there's this guy. And I was like, wait, does he look like this, this, and this, and this? He goes, yeah. I said, and you can't get away from him, right? And he goes, yeah. And that was bizarre. I was like, oh my God, now my kid is having this same dream. And then my middle son, Oliver, came into his teen years, and he's like, I keep having this weird dream. And he started telling me, and it was this same guy appearing in their dreams. Now, we had never talked about this. I never talked about it to anybody until that came up. And it was like, oh my God, and now, so two of my three kids now, Elijah, my littlest one, he's not in that age yet, but I'm curious to see if he's going to have that happen too. Now, is it a hat man? I don't know, but it's some figure that keeps appearing to both me and my children. And we'll have to see if my minion will get it too. I don't know. It's really creepy.
Do you live in, it don't really mean nothing, but have you lived in the same house?
Oh no, well, back then, yeah, but my other two kids, we were in a different house. When I was young, I lived in my family's house, which is still there.
Right.
When my boys had it, we were living in my grandmother's house, same area, but a different location. And now, of course, I'm in the north of Idaho. This is all back in Minnesota. So perhaps geographically it won't be an issue. I don't know, but it's very, very strange. Very true. Yeah.
Thank you to Scott for that awesome super chat. Great way to start the show. Appreciate you. Appreciate all you.
Can I just comment? Freaky Geek says, Brent, how do you know it's the same man hat and not a different one? Well, the physical description I gave both of my boys, they were like, yeah, that's him. So, I mean, other than being able to see through their eyes, I can't know if it was identical, but it was physically a match, but, wearing the same stuff, old white hair, and very pale, but not wimpy, but no matter what they did, they couldn't get away from him either. And he kept taunting them with that. You can't escape me. You can't escape me. So it's just really, really creepy stuff. I almost cussed.
Yeah, well, sometimes it slips out, as long as it's not the F-bomb.
Yeah. I don't know. I got another question in my blog. Sonny says, what do you think?
Yeah, you can answer.
I don't know. I mean, to this day, I'm not quite sure, but it seems to be somehow, if I was to wager a guess, it's somehow tied into the lineage. Maybe it's a generational, or like some families have issues with certain entities, and I don't know. It could be some kind of curse thing, an old curse, but I don't know of any other family members that have experienced that. So it just seems to be directly me and my offspring for some reason, and I have no idea why. And again, it started when I was a teenager, like 13 years old, and it went through most of my teen years, and then at some point it just quit happening. And maybe it's something that each of us has to overcome. I have no idea. I don't know what it means or what the purpose of it is, but it's just definitely bizarre.
I've never seen the Hat Man. I can get to a couple things similar that I've seen, but I know, Tex, you've talked about this kind of, you probably don't even want to talk about it anymore. But you've had a similar, well, actually, most recently, you've had shower experiences. But also you did see kind of a full-bodied apparition. I think it was sporting a hat, right? Some time back.
Yeah, that was back when we lived in this house, and we started having stuff happen. We had other stuff happen. I won't get all into it, but
Sure.
I worked nights at the time, and I'm there by myself, just me and the dogs, and I'm standing in the kitchen cooking me something to eat, and I look out, I catch something out of the corner of my eye, and I look over, and it looks, when you look out of the kitchen, it looks into the living room or den on the wall of the fireplace, and I turn my head, and there was this cowboy figure with a long saddle coat, rifle crooked over his arm, broad brim hat with one leg kicked up on the fireplace wall. So I saw him for a few seconds, and he just kind of faded away. And then we had some other stuff happen. But
I often wonder too, when you always tell that story. I've heard it many times, and always fascinating. And we're going back to the history, like we're talking with Brent with the hats and such.
Mhm.
You're part of now. When did it appear to you to be like a cowboy type figure, or maybe a Civil War figure? I often
No, it
wonder
was-
about that.
Well, I mean, it was 1800s period,
Okay.
but no, it was more of a, you could say regular cowboy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, I mean
cattle
Marvel.
driver.
I mean, yeah, I mean Rustler. I mean Texas is known for cowboys.
Yeah, it was, and when we started looking into the history of the land, there had been a massacre of a cattle drive that was there, so
Okay.
wiped out all the cowboys and the kids that were there. So made a lot of sense, and plus, all the other stuff that happened. So
And of course, more recently, man, you've been paid a visit in the
Yeah.
shower.
well, we were on a show, and I don't remember what show it was on, but we heard like a female voice go, over my
Right.
mic.
Yep.
And then a little while later, I think it was a week or so, something like that, I'm in the shower, and I'm here by myself, and I'm in the shower, and over the shower, I hear that same female voice go, "How you doing?"
Mhm.
And because I was washing, I won't forget, I was washing my beard, and I heard, "How you doing?" I went, "No, that wasn't creepy at all."
Did you answer it?
Well,
Did you like, I'm good? Or what did you say anything?
I literally said, "Well, that wasn't creepy at all."
Yeah.
Yeah. That is
But,
creepy. Something
yeah,
about being in
and-
the shower makes it creepier though. It's like, I
Does
don't
it
know.
not? Does it not?
It's like, I don't know that, clothes offer any protection, but it's just the psychology of it. Like, well, at least I got a shirt and underwear on.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
And I'm thinking, well, hell, come on in,
Oops.
Whenever I think about the well, this is a little different, but the same about an apparition in a bathtub or in the shower. I always revert back to one of my first R-rated movies that I snuck into. I think I got tickets for Airplane, the movie Airplane. Remember that one?
Mhm.
Which I thought was about which I had no idea was a comedy, by the way, until halfway through it. Me and my brother, then we snuck into The Shining, and there's so many great scenes in that movie. But as youths, young guys into girls at this time now, we're feeling our oats and see that hot chick in the hot tub or in the bathtub. Gets up, she's like full frontal nudity. Me and my brother are like, yes,
Oh, yeah.
starts going to Jack Nicholson, wraps her arms around him. And then all of a sudden she turns into like a 98-year-old burnt up old hag. Her
Oof.
body gets all, you remember that scene? And I jumped out of my seat. I'm like, oh my Lord, what's
Yeah,
going on here?
That'll wreck puberty for you.
Well, yeah, it kind of, yeah, it kind of was creepy. We were talking earlier about, like we mentioned earlier with you, Brett, and the question was brought up about, family members or maybe lineage, what's going on. And I must say with myself, I'm going to tell a quick little story that has to do with cowboys and Indians a little bit. And I know Tex has heard this, Brett, I don't think you've heard this. And I've had so many, and I know a lot of the people in chat, a lot of newer people probably haven't heard this because last time I told this story, true story that happened to me a couple of years ago. Or I told the story a couple of years ago. This happened back 20 years ago. But when you talk about, like, I've always had these weird experiences throughout my life. I've seen many ghosts. I've seen the Bigfoot, shadow person, all sorts of stuff I've seen. But as far as my family goes, nobody has seen anything out of the ordinary except for this one incident with my mom, my brother, my sister-in-law, and my niece, and of course myself. And this happened when my brother, a house was being built for my brother. You know, he lived in an apartment, then he bought a house in a new subdivision. And at the time, my niece was about 5 years old, 6 years old. And she was, she had this room that she would always play in. They had glass doors where, my sister-in-law could watch her playing and this, that, and the other. So back when my brother first got this house, it was the cool place to be. I spent many nights there, right? Because it was a big 4-bedroom house and brand new, had that new home smell. So that was the place to hang out on the weekends. And I often spent the night because we would, have some fun, and it was best to drive home in the morning for me, right? So one night, I'm in my room, my own bedroom, whatever, and it's pitch black, and the door opens into my bedroom, and I see what I believe to be my niece. She's standing in the doorway, same height. She had like long hair, but it was like a shadow of her. But I think it's her, and I yell out, "Hey, Lauren, you want to come sleep with Uncle Robbie? What's up?" And then then the door shuts. I'm like, okay, whatever, no big deal. Um, a week or two later, thank you, Kelly, for that awesome super sticker. So then, 2 weeks later, same thing happens. The door opens. I see my niece. I believe it's my niece. I go, "Hey, Lauren. Hey, what's up?" Door shuts again. I think nothing of it. I keep all this to myself. She's just playing games or whatever. So the third time, this happens for a third time, everybody listening, it opens up. And I go, okay, you playing games. Door shuts. I jump out of bed and I run down the hallway because her bedroom was maybe 30 feet from my room. And I go into her bedroom expecting to catch her, running into her bed. So here's the weird thing. She was sound asleep. Tucked in her bed as tight as you can be, out of it, sleeping. And I know for a fact, I'm thinking, what's going on here? There's no way that this little girl, 5 or 6 years old, is going to open my door to my room, race down the hallway into her room, jump in her bed, tuck herself in tight like her mom probably did, and just be sound asleep. I said, then that's my first inclination. I think that this must be a ghost. That's the only thing I can come up with, right? So Thanksgiving time rolls around. This is maybe several months later, and we're all there gathered and we went to my brother and sister-in-law's house for Thanksgiving. They wanted to do Thanksgiving in their new home. So we're all around the table, the Thanksgiving table. The kids, they were excused. They went off and played. So it's my mom, my brother, my sister-in-law, and my dad at the time, who was still alive, right? And we're just talking. Now, my mom used to spend the night there a lot and babysit for my brother and the wife when they had to work. And my mom would spend the night sometimes because sometimes my brother worked overnight and sometimes took the wife with them. And my mom brought up that she thought that she saw a ghost of Lauren entering her bedroom, but it was never her. And now I'm hearing my mom's never divulged this to anybody. It was just Thanksgiving chit chat. Everyone's loosened up, maybe had a cocktail or two. And I hear what my mom has to say. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, Mom. I've experienced this 3 times. And the third time I tried to bust Lauren for, playing a joke. And she was asleep. And my mom said the same exact thing happened to her on several other occasions. So my brother and Karen, my sister-in-law, they look at each other and they're staring at each other. And then they look to me, my mom, and my dad. The kids are playing. And Dave and Karen, brother and sister, says, we think Lauren's been talking with ghosts. And me and my mom, what? She goes, yeah, you see her playroom over there? She has the playroom with the big glass doors you can see right into. Lauren always would be sitting there, staring into the closet, talking to, and Karen would come in and say, who are you talking to? And she thought nothing of it. Kids, imaginary friends, we've all had them. We've all spoken out loud, pretending we're talking to people as kids. At least I know I did. And that's what she thought Lauren was doing, right? Okay, yes, thanks, Brent, for that. Bigfoot, Mr. Brent.
No, I thought I was muting myself, but I was already muted. So
I thought you were saying this weirdo Rob talks to himself. But anyways, no, I'm kidding. I'm not. So they go, yeah, she's been talking into this closet. And so after a while, my sister Karen prodded on Lauren. Okay, well, who is this? She goes, Mom, every time you come in the room, Jenny, my friend, disappears. And Karen says to Lauren, why does your little friend Jenny disappear? Your play friend. Well, Mom, she hates, says, now Lauren now, if I says the word, she says, Jenny hates adults.
Yikes.
And she's like, Lauren, where'd you come up with that word hate? Because of course, as a young kid, I know my brother and sister never brought up such words. And then it got even more worse and more worried for my sister-in-law, because Lauren, my niece, went on to say that Jenny hates the white man because they murdered her family.
Oh.
She goes, well, who is this Jenny? She goes, I don't know, Mom. She's kind of my size. Long black hair. She's dark skinned. So Karen's thinking like a little Indian girl, perhaps, like Pocahontas. Because she knows the Pocahontas story. So she's, putting this together. He goes, yeah, Ma, kind of looks like Pocahontas. So now she's freaking out. My Karen, she's freaking out. My daughter, why is she saying these words she should be saying? Is she hallucinating? Thought there was something wrong with her. Then they got with my brother. Are we sure we're going to take her to see a psychiatrist, a doctor? They're up in arms over this. Very disturbing at the time they thought it was, right? So my brother starts doing some investigation. He goes, no. Our daughter's not crazy. She's got a wild imagination. Where she came up with the verbiage, I don't know. Let's not. Hey, she's not. Our kid ain't crazy. Basically, he's telling my sister-in-law. So my brother says, well, I'm going to get into this, though. And they started looking up. My brother starts looking about this property, this new area that, this new subdivision was put up. And he just, my brother's pretty smart. He's not a paranormal guy, but he just started thinking up things, looked up the deeds, the history of this land. And lo and behold, he came up with something during his research. That many years ago, 1900s, I don't know the time frame, you guys, there was a war where cowboys in India, during the cowboy Indian era, where the white man, as Lauren says, the white man, she doesn't like the white man, they're her ghost friend, because they wiped out her family. Well, guess what? There was a massacre on this actual property site. So apparently all these souls lost their lives from this Indian tribe many, many years ago. And this site was built on their actual mound, right?
Oh, no. Wow.
So my brother thinks, I think we have a haunted house then. I think this is actual little girl spirit or ghost of the past. that's, caught attached on to Lauren, a friend, this, that, and the other. And so my brother, my sister, they really went on the extreme because Lauren would always still talk to this little Jenny in the closet. And they just, and then corroborating the fact that I seen this little Jenny. Now it's Jenny, I know it's not my niece. My mother has. They put up their home for sale.
Oh.
So while the home's up for sale, the neighbor comes over to talk to my brother. He goes, "Man, you've only been here about, less than a year. Why are you putting your home up for sale?" He goes, "Man, if I told you, you wouldn't believe me, but we've had some experiences that I just don't want to get into. You'll think I'm nuts." He goes, "Your house is haunted, isn't it?" He's been experiencing similar things at his house.
Wow.
So long story short, they sell their home, they move out, and I guess then a couple of years later, my brother ran into some other neighbors. "Why'd you move?" Talked about, well, here's what's going on. So I guess the majority of the people that lived in a subdivision ended up all moving because the whole entire subdivision was haunted.
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah.
now today, Brent, this subdivision, you could buy a house there for extremely cheap because they keep turning over. And I'm
Wow.
guessing because it's haunted. I don't know that it is a fact, but when a $250,000 home now sells for 90 grand
Yeah.
and they can't sell those, there's something going on here, right?
Yeah, somebody should bring in a medicine man to bless the land and try to release that energy. And I mean, there's a lot of traditional ways in the First Nations to appease the spirits or to get them to rest and stuff. And it doesn't sound like anybody's done that, but I'd certainly do that. Even planting like fruit trees, in honor of those souls and having cleansing rituals done, I think would do a lot. But yeah, the land never forgets, and a lot of people, oh, it's a brand new house. Well, how can it be haunted? Because a lot of people have the idea that, well, it's got to be a really old house and lots of tragedy have to have happened there. But the land remembers, and wherever the houses are built is important to consider too. You can't dismiss the fact that tragedies may have happened on land long before even, our peoples came to this country. And I think it's probably a good idea whenever you get a new property, just cleanse, just do things to try to release whatever might be there.
Yep.
But it's certainly sad, and it's a horrible reminder of the heritage that of
Yep.
the historical treatment of many peoples, and it's tragic. But at the same point, I think it can be addressed and it can be cleansed and released, but doesn't sound like anybody's done that. And it's
that's a great viewpoint. And Barbara, this is my state of Michigan. This is in Michigan. I'll even tell you it's like a place. It's like called Brownstown, Michigan. So that's kind of the area. So, but yeah, I'm just wondering. I don't know who owns all this property now. I don't even know if people want to even. I don't know how you even go about doing that, Brent. Would you go to a commission that owns the land, or I don't know who owns
Oh
it?
yeah,
It's probably changed hands several times, right?
well, if you can find any existing homeowners that would be open to it, and then you just approach the local tribes and just say, "Can you please, have someone come and bless the land?" And it could go a long way into at least making that peaceful.
Yeah.
And then you go in and buy up all the real estate and sell it for a huge profit. I'm just kidding.
Well, no, I mean, we're all capitalists, but yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same thing with where I was. It was the land,
Yeah.
because we were in a brand new house, first owner. So,
they always talk about like the Manistee National Forest here in Michigan, haunted land. Obviously it's a humongous. It goes from the east to the west coast of Michigan. That's how huge it is. Certain sections are cursed lands, allegedly, but always from the First Nations or tribes, right? It is kind of sad, and I got to tell you what, I know what your two takes are, but I do believe that. I believe that spells are cast on lands. I do believe that exists.
Oh, sure.
I think there's weight behind it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that that's probably what either the act itself cursed the land of brutalizing these people, or it was done very intentionally by the remaining members of the tribe that just, I mean, the whole Uinta Basin where Skinwalker Ranch is believed to be cursed by the Navajo, who were subjugated by the Utes. They were basically enslaved by the Utes. And so they used to get along, and then the Utes apparently got really aggressive and just brutalized the Navajo, and so the Navajo cursed the land, and hence you have Skinwalker Ranch.
It's always amazed me that, and we talk about this all the time, anything can be cursed or haunted, and it's odd sometimes what these spirits attach to. It's like Rob's got the story of, buying trinkets or, knickknacks and stuff at thrift stores and garage sales and yard sales and, what have you.
Yep.
And had all that activity at his house. And it didn't stop till he, got rid of everything.
Yep.
And when we talk about haunted dolls, I wonder, it would be interesting to find out different, if the audience can tell us what if they've ever ran into personal items that were, or any, what's the weirdest thing that you ever heard that was haunted, or had an attachment.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be cool to hear.
That is cool to hear. I'm not going to do mine again, Tex, but yeah, I've had that happen to me, Brent. I can maybe save that for maybe the podcast, but I brought some stuff home. I used to, like Tex said, I brought all these things home. Me and my wife collected back in the day, and all of a sudden, that's where I saw my first shadow person.
Yeah.
Thought I was going crazy. I seen it, and there's a big shadow person, by the way. Then I would start seeing things out of the corner of my eyes. And then one day I just had to tell the wife, hey, listen, you're going to think I'm nuts, but blah, 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 blah. I've been seeing these things. The wife looks at me, oh my God, I didn't want to tell you this because I've been experiencing the same thing. But we both didn't want to, despite being married and knowing each other for so long, you're apprehensive, even with a loved one, right? And and you just don't you feel odd, even like I told my Bigfoot encounter, right? And then sure enough, we did get when I'm at work one day, she got some psychic or whatever it was way back in the day. This is in the 90s. And there's some woman in the house that went into the room where we had all these trinkets. She says this home was so beautiful, this, that, and the other. Then she walks in this one room, Brent. She got this bad energy. She felt cold. She goes, this is the source of what you guys are seeing. Get rid of it. Get it blessed or whatever. Well, I, of course, blew it off. Here's your $50. Hit the road. I wasn't into this stuff like I am way back. I was in my 20s, right?
Sure.
But I eventually did get rid of it, and then it all went away. But where it went? But where I put the stuff, Brent? I put it in the garage.
Oh, okay.
During spring cleaning, when I opened the garage, guess what I see appear? The shadow person.
Oh.
Called out my wife. Oh my gosh, this really is haunted. And she's like, what? I said, I seen that same shadow person thing. Oh, no, not really. Did you? I'm like, yeah. Of course, it's not there when she comes out. I said, just wait. Sure enough, she's seen it. So I took all the trinkets, put it in my pickup truck, and there was a landfill or a dump by the house. And that's where I ended up putting it all, which I cursed that land now, probably.
Oh, there's a haunted landfill. Nice job, Rob.
Yeah. So that's me. That's me.
In Michigan, outside of Detroit, that landfill probably had worse things than haunted trinkets in it.
You're probably
Yeah.
Jimmy Hoffa, perhaps.
Yeah. I was sinfully wicked. Says I did a big no at Gettysburg, and I brought home a small rock. Had bad luck for a year. Took it back, apologized, and it stopped.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of people experience that. There's, grabbing rocks or items from areas where they visit, and I collect rocks all the time. So,
Right.
I probably brought some things into my reality as well. But I don't know. I just always grab rocks. It's my thing. So, but honestly, there's a lot of ways that hauntings can occur, and like we were talking about, the land or
Right.
tragedy happening in a house, or just somebody loved the place and didn't want to leave,
Right.
that kind of thing. And then there's the things you bring into your space, and certainly they can have attachments and they can have presences attached to them. And then there's people messing with seances and Ouija boards and things
Mhm.
like that, and they don't properly open or close the sessions, which is a big thing. It's like Ouija boards are marketed to 8 and up. Yeah, go kids, go to your room and see if you can talk to grandpa. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, don't have your kids doing seances at 8 years old, and dragging a piece of plastic over goodbye does not close it. I mean, that's not how you would legitimately close a session of communication with another entity. You've got to be more absolute than that, and there's different rituals or ideas or approaches to that. Like the most easiest is to close it with a prayer, or something like that, or any other modalities. But there's not any one way that hauntings occur. And then I also believe that there's just transient spirits. Like, I don't know how many stories I've heard through the years of, well, I was go visiting an old cemetery, looking at some old cemetery, and then suddenly things are happening at my house. Well, yeah, you got a tag along or attachment from that cemetery, possibly. And it decided, hey, I'm going to check out your world and be a part of that now. So you just got to be careful. And I think it's probably really good advice for anybody to cleanse their space. And I'm not telling you got to burn sage if that doesn't resonate with you, or you've got to chant mantras from the Hindus or whatever resonates with you. So if you're Christian, utilize Christian methods of blessing and purifying your space. Could be hymns, could be song, could be sound, could be crystals, could be incenses, or any number of modalities that you can use. But I think it's really important for us, and we're not really taught this in Western culture. That there's many cultures around the world that are very tuned into their spirituality, spiritual energies, and the potential impact of those on our world. But here in the West, we're just like, just get home and check out what's on the TV. It's so I think you got to knock down your own energy. Now, the other kind of potential haunting is just by virtue of living in a space. We always imprint our energy on our space. And of course, that includes all the crap, like when you're having a big row with the missus or something like that, you're permeating your space with that energy. And so it's really important, I think, to just kind of go through, like, you clean your house. Well, physically, you dust, you vacuum, and then there's the spiritual part that we don't really know about here in America, but it's a big part of many other cultures around the world.
And the whole rock thing, that of course that brings up the whole Bell Witch. That's a big deal there. People taking rocks and stuff and then returning them because stuff tends to happen.
Sure.
Which that's a really cool. That's a cool story.
Depending on your point of view, yeah, but it is cool. I agree.
Yeah.
I think they're all cool. And Brent, I ask this question quite often when we talk about these subjects, because typically with people like us, like myself, I've seen ghosts, I've seen a Bigfoot, shadow people, I've seen pretty much everything. Tex has seen a Bigfoot, dogman, ghost. Brent, I know you've seen some ghosts, paranormal activity. I know you had a UFO experience. I've seen a UFO.
Yeah.
And, we do these shows, these podcasts, and this is what we like to do. We research the stuff, and much like the people in our chat room, I know a lot of the people in the chat room, and I know a lot of people that just follow the shows have had experiences.
Sure.
Because I know we all get inundated with emails on their stories and such. But I often wonder, do you think that when you experience these things, it doesn't matter if you're 5 or 6 years old or 25 or 35, but do you think when you have an open mind and you're in contact with these things that we are more open to seeing them more readily because of our energy and vibration that we give off.
For sure. It's like there's no question in my mind. I'm absolutely 100% certain of this, that by virtue of experiencing one thing, you are like multiple times more likely to experience more things. And I'm not sure if it's because an awareness opened up in you by experiencing the quote unquote impossible, or if perhaps there's an energy change in you by experiencing things that aren't traditionally believed in. But I mean, God, how many people have you heard of through the years? It was like, I saw Bigfoot, which in and of itself is a huge thing because most people will never see one, but then they go on to have more experiences and more experiences with that or other things. Like I saw a Bigfoot. Well, now I got home and weird things are happening around my house, or I saw this weird light in the sky as well. It's like it's like an awareness just suddenly opens, or the blinders are lifted. And I've said this many times, and I'm probably being redundant as hell, but I always am. So I guess we got to deal with that. But I think if we all had perfect vision, like we were just given perfect vision to see everything around us, we would all collectively poop our pants, because we would realize we are swimming in a reality with things that we can't possibly understand. We're just not able to focus or see them because of whatever reason, energy, phase, vibration, a frequency, whatever. We aren't aware of them. And I think mostly they're not aware of us either. But if we could just suddenly become wide open, I think we would be like, oh my God, and it would be this incredibly, probably terrifying experience, but it's just the nature of reality.
I think that we see things that we don't even want to believe we see, right?
Right. Oh, for sure. I think most experiences, people are not, they don't knowingly ask for these experiences. Most people seeing a ghost or a Bigfoot or a dog man or any number of different experiences, it's life-changing, but usually in a lot of cases in a bad way. Like it shattered their belief system, it shattered their understanding of the world around them, and they're living in a state of uncertainty and even trepidation and fear. But I think if you understand that it's always been there, this stuff's always been there, it's not new, it's just your awareness of it is new. But I think that's ultimately, these experiences make us feel really disempowered, like, oh well, this happened to me, and this was an experience I didn't want, now I've had it. And like for people, I hunted all my life, I come from generation of hunters, but then I saw the Bigfoot and I put away my gun and I don't do it anymore. It robs people of their experiences. And I think the big takeaway to remember is that you are part of this experience, and it's something probably in you that suddenly you were able to perceive it for whatever reason. It could be some form of moving your brain into a theta state, so you're wide open through like a natural hypnosis, hypnosis, that you suddenly become wide open to things and like, and then suddenly your world changes. But yeah, I think we're not disempowered in these experiences. We're just in a whole new experience, and we don't know how to process it. But I don't think this stuff just suddenly appeared. It's always been there. It's just we aren't always aware of it until some moment. And then you become aware of it. Well, then you got to process it like anything else in your life.
I think, you're on the right track, and I totally agree with you. And I think it's also, I called it one time, it was like getting that innocence you had as a child back.
Yeah.
Because, children, they're open to, we're always talking about imaginary friends or seeing this, seeing that. Or, I guess, you grow out of that and you're walking around with your eyes wide shut.
Yeah.
And until you have rekindled that, and it's like, oh, these things are, they weren't just childhood, fantasies or whatever. And it's like, oh, this stuff really does exist. I think I'm completely on board with you that it's an awareness that you reawaken in yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you realize that the impossible is possible, it changes your life. Sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad.
You know, Brent, I agree with you said in text. You just brought up something that I totally agree with because when you go back to your childhood, in text, you know it, but when I was a little kid, again, 5 or 6, me personally, 5, 6, 7, I would always see ghosts in my bedroom on the back wall of the bedroom.
Mm.
And I would always run to mom and dad crying, "Mommy, Daddy, I see a ghost in the bedroom." And they, of course, like most parents do, you had a dream, this, that, and the other. And one night I see this ghost again in the bedroom. I wake up my brother. I'm shaking my brother to get up. And I can see this thing. And I say, "Look, do you see that? Do you see that? What are you talking about? I don't see nothing." Now he starts crying. He's my younger brother. And I'm like freaking out. And now I'm scared him. But he saw nothing. But I did. And again, mom and dad, listen, you're dreaming. Okay. You're having these same dreams, this, that, and the other, doing their due diligence as parents, I guess. I don't know. But so I grew out of that. I didn't see that. I saw that ghost quite often, though, over a couple of years. I really did. And I got to tell you guys, in text, what you just said, that's why I bring this up, is because when I got married again, when I got married and I moved in, me and the wife got the marital home, this, that, and the other. And we're married for about a year into the marriage. We're laying in bed, and I woke up and I see the same ghost, Brent, Tex, and everyone listening, from my childhood reappeared again.
Oh, wow.
And I woke up and I'm waking up my wife. I'm like, look at this. Oh my God. She goes, "What are you talking about?" And I go, "Look on the far back wall of the bedroom. Don't you see that?" And she looks at me like, "Are you awake and dreaming?" Or she tried, what? She goes, "No, there ain't nothing there. Go back to bed." This happened a couple other times and I always felt ridiculous. And then all of a sudden in my mind, I remembered, well, I knew it immediately the first time, to be honest, but it was the same thing I saw as a kid. And so now, some 20 years later, it comes back and visits me again. And I know it was a ghost. But why did my brother not see it? Why did my wife not see it? Why just me? Now, I haven't seen it since. But you know what? About a year later is when we started also buying all we did not even have the trinkets that I talked about earlier in the house at that time. But I think it was just something to follow me about and decided for whatever reason to show itself again. Why? I don't know. And I wasn't doing podcasting. I was working, at the time, in manufacturing in the auto industry. Sure, did I like the paranormal and Bigfoot and stuff like that? I always did as a kid. I watched shows, but other than that, I didn't investigate it or research it like we do today. I always wonder why that is. Now, I haven't seen it since, but again, it's something that Tex brings up the point. Brent, you brought up the point, and I just find that to be odd.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but I think it's profound to say that, in some way, that the empowering part is something about you, I think, facilitated those experiences. Like oftentimes we think, well, it's what the spirit showed me, but maybe it was equally, we're not just victims of this stuff. I think we're facilitating it, and maybe it's mostly subconscious, but I think that's an empowering statement, and I've made it a bunch of times in the last 6 months on several different formats. But I think we have to realize that for every experience, the one common denominator is an experiencer. So what is going on with the experiencer? Oftentimes we think, well, this stuff is happening to us, and we're like this pinball bouncing off of these experiences, but maybe we're really helping to facilitate it on a level that we don't understand quite yet. But I think that that's an empowering statement. Like, we are a part of this equation. We're not just like, the sheep out waiting for the wolf, that we're creating an experience, probably most often subconsciously, or, we're not really aware. And maybe it has to do with being in the right frame of mind, like moving ourselves into a natural state of theta. Theta waves are basically the same thing that hypnotists bring you into in order to hypnotize you. but we do self-hypnotize ourselves all the time throughout our days. And the best example I always use, and many people use, is like, how many times have you been driving a road that you've driven 100 times and suddenly you don't even realize you drove it? It's just like, how did I get home? I don't remember. Well, you went into a state of natural hypnosis. You moved your mind into theta state, and you basically drove on muscle memory. And I think that awareness is something to do with that awareness, because that's also the state. Oftentimes kids experience ghosts and stuff long before adults ever will. But what the difference is that children's brains from the age of birth to 5 to 7 years old are naturally always in the theta state. So they're able to experience this stuff all the time because that's their reality. And they don't move into the more adult version of the brain state until after that point. And how many stories have you heard? Well, used to have this imaginary friend. It was really creepy and stuff would happen. And then it kind of just stopped. Well, it's because the brain moved into a different mental state than the theta. So just as a course of development, some people don't outgrow it. It just continues and they become, our mediums and channelers and stuff, I think. But most of us do. And so I don't know if any of that makes sense, but that's just my own personal theories.
No, I think it makes perfect sense.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, it's, and I know I've had that happen a lot. You're driving home or you drive whatever, like you said, and it's just like, whoosh, how did I get here? you know, but I also think a lot of people equate that to lost time.
Yeah. Oh, it could be. Sure. You're right. That's a good point.
But it's, I don't think it's that every time. I think it's very much like you say, it's just muscle memory and you just kind of zone out for a little bit or whatever, theta state, whatever.
Yeah.
But, and that's another weird phenomenon is the whole missing time situations.
Yes. I'm not interrupting Tex. I'm just saying yes.
No,
because we've had it, and everyone equates missing time with alien abduction. I mean, I know Tex does not want to go there, but what's your take on that?
On abduction?
Well, missing time associated with alien abduction. We hear it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't really know, other than just I mean, I think traditionally everyone kind of feels that, well, it's a mind wipe. They don't want you to remember the experience they're doing, whatever it is they're doing, and then they mind wipe somebody. I guess it could be. I mean, I've certainly spoke to enough actual abductees that can verify that. Yeah. I mean, Betty and Barney Hill, which was basically one of the very first officially researched abduction situations. They didn't remember what had happened until they went through regression hypnosis, and then suddenly all these details came back. And certainly there was enough physical evidence in the form of like Betty's dress with this strange substance on it that seemed to corroborate her story, as well as her apparently having pretty incredible knowledge of the Zeta Reticuli star clusters, long before the astronomers had just really officially discovered it. And so with all of that together, it's like, well, yeah, they obviously seems to have experienced something. And why do they need to wipe people's brains? Well, I guess, I mean, the trauma of somebody exerting their will over you, even if it's maybe not as nefarious as it seems, it's still, it's a trauma. And so whatever they're doing for whatever reasons, they just feel like it's important to wipe people's memory of that so they can just have some semblance of a normal life. Although it doesn't seem like they're very good at it, because a lot of people end up knowing something's not right and I got to go figure out what this is. And then they end up getting the memories anyway. So I don't know. It's a strange phenomena for sure. Maybe it just occurred to me, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
That maybe the mind wipe is more, maybe it's not, this just occurred to me, just a random theory for whatever it's worth, but this is the way my head works with this stuff all the time. But I was thinking, what if they're transdimensional? And what if by virtue of bringing people into their dimensional experience, that one of the symptoms of that is not being able to remember it. Like for some reason their memory doesn't work right or whatever. And so maybe it's not even actively being done by these intelligences, but maybe it's just by virtue of these people being brought to a different vibrational or frequency, a reality. And then when they get brought back, they're just like, what the hell just happened? You know, that just occurred to me now. I don't know if there's any merit to that or not, but certainly plenty of people think these things are not extraterrestrial. They're transdimensional. And what if that's something? Thoughts?
No, I'm thinking because it's pretty. I know Tex has a thought. By the way, Tex, you're on mute still. When you say transdimensional, I'm a little confused as to that. That's coming from a different plane or realm.
Right. It's coming from a different.
And it's not in this time frame, so you're not going to remember it regardless because you slipped into that.
It's I think less to do with. I mean, it's possibly a time variable too, but at least it's functionally a different version of where we're at in our space time. So, and I'm no physicist or theoretical physicist, so I'm not at all fit to explain this. But as far as I understand it, it's just like another version of reality where there might be different rules and different physics and a completely different reality, and the prime characters may be absolutely foreign to us and appear like aliens. So
do you think that it would be possible if we did slip into a different time zone or a different reality and we did not know it, we walked into it, and then we experienced whatever it was, but when we came back to our own time zone, our own reality, it's a mind wipe because it didn't exist in our current state of time.
Right. Or the way that our memories are gathered is very dependent upon our experience in this space-time continuum that we're in. And when we go into another one, we can't record those events in the form of memory the same way. I don't know.
Because that's interesting. Because with Tex, with what happened with Tex, he has video of things that he has no recollection of.
Oh,
in this time. But this maybe took place with Tex in a different time as to why maybe he doesn't remember it, and maybe it wasn't, an abduction or something. I don't know, Tex.
Your guess good as mine. I mean, I have to go by what limited resources I've had, and the, with Jessica remote viewing it, and then Danielle talking about it a little later, that she had no idea about the experience.
Yep.
And she pretty much, her being a psychic medium, she picked up and told me it's, pretty much the same thing. So like I say a lot, when does it quit being a coincidence? I don't know what happened. I'm still, I guess out of all my experiences, that one bothers me the most. I think because I didn't, I couldn't consciously, be involved, do something about it, have that control. I wish I had access to the video, but I don't.
Well, that's the key. Yeah. And I know it burns you that other people have had access and told you.
Yeah. That was quite the roller coaster on your show that one time when we got slapped. I got basically slapped in the face for that.
Yes.
And I don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
I can tell it bugs you still to this day, like anything.
It does. I don't know if it bugs me on an emotional level as much as it does. It confounds me because I don't know what happened. But something happened, but I don't know what it was. And I've said this before. The only saving grace was I didn't go down without a fight. So, I don't know what.
Well, that's what we heard. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what these entities want with us.
Yeah.
I think there's so many people now that want to have that experience, that they could get probably conscious permission to do this stuff. They don't have to do all this mind wiping or whatever they're doing. I'm sure many people would agree to this,
Yeah.
So I don't
I'll
know
be
why
right
they
back.
do it. Of course, I don't know why the government does so many things to cloak and dagger, but hey, evidently aliens or whatever operate the same way.
I'll be
Great
right
point.
back, guys.
Go ahead,
I'll be
Brent.
right back.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know, Tex. I mean, that's why I kind of think that, we talk about these subjects pretty much weekly and sometimes take a break and just do fun stuff. This is fun stuff, but just to break away because it does get a little convoluted. And, and I'll ask you this. I think today, and I thought differently like last year, perhaps, the para-cryptid connection, whatever I titled this. I think that the cryptids, the paranormal, and the alien realms are all the same. I think they operate within the same, and I think they're all the same yet different. And I know that's a weird way to say it, but I think they're all connected, right? Today I believe that. I have to believe that. I could be wrong. I could be right, or I could be somewhere in between. But that's why we do this, because none of us have the answers. That's why it's one of the most, for me, it's just it's mind blowing. All the experiences we've all had collectively, just as our group, with Tex, Rob, the girls, all of us, right? We've all had these wild experiences, anywhere from the paranormal to the cryptid to the alien realm, and we don't know why. But they all have some base of being mutually inclusive, right?
And I think you're right. And, and that's kind of where the whole term, the Island of Misfit Toys, comes from, because it's not just about us. It's about our audience. And
Right.
so many people have had those experiences. It's something for all of us to share and be well, I think it's some kind of therapy, if you want to call it that, because we can openly share what's been going on. But it's like you said a while ago, Rob. When you were married, neither one of you wanted to confide in each other on of this weird experience you both had.
Yep.
Because you were worried about how the other one would perceive you.
Right. Yeah. Wild.
And many people, when they have these experiences, they can't talk to the loved ones. They can't talk to the people that are closest to them, but they come here, or platforms like ours, and they're among others that have had these experiences, and they can finally let it out. And I think that's very cathartic. But we're drawn together. I mean, when and I've always said, when we started all coming together, I don't want to say that I built this team or anything. It was chance meetings, really. Yeah. But it's the chemistry, and I think, and Rob, I know you're very good at it. You can read a person like that. But when you've got chemistry with somebody,
you can tell really quickly.
Yeah, be it just a shared experience, or and people don't. I mean, how many times you heard the terms sexual tension? It's the same thing. It's an energy that you share. No, I'm serious. There's that chemistry. But it works the opposite way too. You and Jimmy.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, that kid,
You know,
correct.
there's people that you meet and you're like, it's like, magnets pushing away. I mean, it's like, no, I don't like this cat.
Right. Absolutely.
Who's Jimmy?
Oh
Jimmy,
boy.
for those that have heard this, I'm sorry, but Brent obviously hasn't heard about Jimmy. Jimmy is this cat that I met in the 5th or 6th grade. Actually, I met him in my neighborhood, and I started playing with Jimmy. And much like, it's funny because you know how Lauren told her mom this kid, she's bad or evil or hate, doesn't like white people or whatever, back in the ghost story. And her mom, like, where'd you come up with those words? Well, I was playing with this kid, Jimmy, at 5 or 6, and I went home and told my mom and dad that he was evil. Where I came up with the word evil from, I don't know, because my parents never spouted off. They never swore in the house until I turned 18 or whatever. They really didn't. And they said, where'd you come up with that word? Jimmy's fine. Play with him. He likes you, whatever. So, begrudgingly as a kid, I played with this Jimmy kid and I never liked him. I thought there was something odd about Jimmy, always. I even told my friends in middle school, don't hang out with Jimmy. Why don't you like Jimmy? I said, I don't know. I just got this feeling. And as kids, you're made fun of. You got a feeling about Jimmy. You like him, Rob? I'm like, no. Stay away from Jimmy. That's all I can tell you guys. So this went on, and he was in my school system through elementary school, middle school, and into high school, Jimmy. And I always seemed to be in class with Jimmy. And I always would tell my friends, if Jimmy was somewhere when I got old enough, I wasn't going. If Jimmy was at a high school party, Rob wasn't going. I just wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So my regular friends thought I was the weirdo. So anyway, we're in gym class one day. We're playing soccer, and it was springtime, summertime, toward the end of school season, 11th or 12th grade, and we played the soccer. So to differentiate between the teams, some guys had shirts on, some shirts off. So I get in this ruckus with Jimmy on the soccer field. We're rolling around on the ground, and as soon as I made physical contact with this Jimmy kid, I pushed him away, and I ran from this kid. I ran from him, and I was made fun of like I was a little baby. Look around, the little girl. Why are you running from Jimmy? And I left the soccer field, man. I want nothing to do with this bad aura, this bad vibe I got from this kid. The same kid throughout my entire life, I preached, told my parents many times about this kid. Don't want him around here, man. Really, I didn't. So, long story short, I go off to college and this, that, and the other. And, I come back home, graduating from college. We have a little party and this, that, and the other. And my mom and dad, they get me in a room privately. And they said, hey, man, you remember that Jimmy kid you said was evil when you were 5? Never liked him throughout your entire life? I go, yeah. Why even bring up Jimmy on my graduation party from college, for God's sakes? I don't want to talk about it. We apologize, Rob, for thinking you were just headed out for this kid. I go, why? What did he do? He's in prison. He murdered his grandmother.
Oh, God.
And you gotta, and I'm like, oh well, wow, I didn't think he was that bad. I knew he was bad. I called him evil as a 5-year-old. And then my friends from high school came up to me. We always thought you were weird. Why you had it out for Jimmy? But boy, Rob, you nailed that one as a little boy. How I knew that, Brent, I couldn't tell you.
Wow, that's good.
And it was funny too. Driving BMX bikes, we came across these skinned cats. It's like 10 or 12-year-olds in the creek.
Oh no!
And they're hanging from trees, skinned alive.
That's how it starts.
Most horrific thing. And the backyard that backed up to the creek where these dead cats were was Jimmy's house.
That's a crazy thing. Think of all the unsolved murders in that area. Well, could have been Jimmy. I mean, he was like your local Dexter, right?
Hey man, I gotta tell you something. Jimmy was something else. That's the worst I mean, I can't call it my worst experience, but that was just an experience I'll never forget about that kid.
Trust your gut. I think that's a big takeaway. Always
know?
trust your intuition for sure.
Rob, it just dawned on me.
Yeah.
Did you know of any? Was there any girls that didn't like that acted the same way around Jimmy as you did?
Well, I could tell you this: Jimmy was kind of a loner. He had some friends with the dudes, but I never seen him go to senior prom or date girls or nothing in high school. I mean, as far as that goes, he never was with a girl hanging out with women at parties. I did see him at a couple parties, but he was kind of with a couple dudes, couple guys weren't my friends. But he was always a weirdo. I don't know. He's just by himself, standoffish.
I'm just curious as to what else he may have done that they don't know about.
Well, I tell you what, I associate that cat incident right directly to him. I'm sorry, but I'm sure he did that or was part of that one. It's just not a coincidence.
I just wonder if he hurt anybody else, assaulted anybody or whatever.
No, I mean, during high school, I don't think he really assaulted anybody during the high school year that I knew of. I mean, he that I know of. I mean, he was never suspended from school or anything like that, right?
Well, the thing about it is, if it happened to a girl, they may not have ever said anything.
That's always and they don't either. Young girls don't say in high school, grade school. Most of them don't until they're like 50 and you're rich and they sue you.
Yeah. I think whatever was going on with Jimmy was probably, and maybe that's what happened with Grandma. She figured out something, and yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, and from what I understand, the murder was not all that. It was a. Let me tell you something. It's similar to the cats, from what I understand.
Yeah, something.
They didn't even put it in the paper.
Oh,
so it had been horrific.
Yeah. Oh God.
Hey, Rob, when you get a chance, text me his name. I'll do some research on him.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that's a horrible thing, but good thing your intuition was dead on with that,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I didn't mean to scare everybody off, especially the cat things. We're all animal lovers, but that was part of this guy's story. So I can't exclude it. Got to keep it real, right? But yeah, So yeah, but on a positive note,
let's transition off of Jimmy. Hurry.
We've got something, Brent, that I don't know. I know you've told this, and I know a lot of our listeners might not have. I mean, we have some of the similar listeners, but I always thought, and we're talking about everything, we might as well end with. I'd like to have the show with and you can be elaborate, or you can keep it in 6 minutes, whatever you want to do. I dig your UFO sighting, man.
Oh,
I got to hear that one more time.
Well, I again, and my apologies to anybody that's heard it 100 times.
Yeah, well,
but
stories are good stories.
So all my life, I'd always believed in the whole idea behind UFOs, that there's something's going on, but I was always really miffed that I would never see anything. I grew up out in a rural part of Minnesota, and there wasn't any light pollution or anything, so I could see the night sky like crazy. And I was fascinated by the idea of UFOs and possibly aliens visiting our planet. And wouldn't that be cool to see it? And my whole life, every chance I got, I would go look at the stars. Never saw anything, but I would still follow these stories of people seeing stuff. And I was just mesmerized by the whole concept. So I looked and never saw anything. And it wasn't until I think it's about 12 years ago now. I don't know. Yeah, roughly 12 years ago. I was working remotely from Minnesota with a company, and I was doing some marketing stuff for them. And it was going good and all, but I would have to, shoot around the country to meet up for meetings and stuff like that. Well, the company was from Indiana. They moved up here to the north of Idaho, which is subsequently how I ended up here in anyway. But there was some meetings going on, and they were like, hey, why don't you come out and you can be a part of these firsthand rather than remotely. And, we'll bring you out here. So I'm like, okay, sure. So I I got my stuff together and came out here to the north of Idaho, and I met with the owner friend of mine. And he's like, we've got this house, and I knew the house. I'd been up here a couple times visiting before. They had bought this house up in the mountains, and it was basically a 2-story cabin, but they converted it into this beautiful big house. And he's like, it's all done, but we're not living here yet. So rather than put you up in a hotel, do you want to just stay up in the mountains? And it was all up in, up in this mountain valley, basically just a logging road to get to it. And I'm like, yeah, I get to stay up in the mountains in this beautiful mountain house all by myself. This will be really cool. And it was all off grid and everything. So he brought me up there and showed me kind of my way around, what I would need to do and stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. So we went through the day's meetings. One of the things he did show me while I was up there is, hey, I got these night vision binoculars. They're really cool. And when it gets dark, you can check them out. And it was kind of just a off the cuff thing that he threw out there. And I thought, yeah, that'll be cool. I think that'd be amazing. So went through the day's meetings that got to be nighttime, and I headed up alone up into the mountains. And the house is situated in a mountain valley. The house is on one side of the valley, and then it goes down to a small creek with a logging road next to it. And then the opposing hillside or mountainside. And so I got up there and got all situated and stuff. And I was like, just, what do I do? And I was like, hey, I'm going to go check out those night vision binoculars. So I grab them and I go outside. And one of the reasons I really wanted to do it was because I'd always heard that a lot of the stars in our galaxy are red stars. And so you can't see them with the naked eye. But I've heard that the night sky is just incredible if you can check it out through night vision. So I was like, hell yeah, I want to do that. It was a beautiful, clear, late spring night. And there were other, buildings around throughout this valley, but they were all like seasonal cabins. So nobody was up there for miles. I'm all the way up by myself, miles out of the off the paved roads, basically. And so I'm out there and I go and turn them on and I look at the sky. And just as a side note, it's freaking incredible to look at the night sky with night vision. If you can do it, I really encourage you to do it, because there's suddenly millions of more stars up there. You won't recognize any constellations. There's just so many more lights up there. It is incredible. So I'm up there just marveling up in the beautiful mountains with this beautiful, pristine night sky. And I'm looking around, and there's a little bit of a sliver of a moon. So it wasn't like completely dark. And then when you're in the dark, your eyes just adjust anyway, especially with that much splendor going on, with the night sky just being vibrant and alive. So I'm looking and looking and looking. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. That's true. There is so many more stars, and I'm marveling at that. And then I'm like, yeah, I got night vision. This is pretty cool. I've never played with it before. So then I look at the opposing slope, and I'm marveling the fact that I can see the individual trees. And these binoculars are only like 4 power or 5 power. So they're not like huge, like, hey, I can look at the bald eagle's nostril, not like that powerful. So they're a little magnified, but look at the opposite slope, see all those mountains and trees and stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. I looked down the driveway, which was just a black wall because it's all overhung and you couldn't see anything, but looking through the night vision, I can see all the way to the end of the turnaround. And I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, I'm going to look at the stars some more. So I'm panning up on the side of the mountain I'm on, above this big, I don't know my trees very well, but it's might have been a ponderosa pine, might have been a big blue spruce or something. Hell, I don't know. But it's a big pine tree. And I get to the top of that, and I'm looking back at the sky about 30 feet above this pine tree. Is no kidding, a flying saucer just sitting there. Oh, and it's probably about 100 yards, 150 yards from me, right in that range. But it's just floating above those trees, absolutely silent. There was no noise whatsoever. Now, this thing, when you think of a flying saucer, oftentimes you think of this, like it's these 2 plates pressed up together, and on the edge is this point. But that's not what I saw. What I saw was a flying saucer with a top and a bottom, but in between the two, there was a gap. And in this gap is all these flat rectangular shapes that are flashing with light going around it, like a marquee pattern on an old movie theater or something. And these chasing light thing. And I was like, oh my God, and I'm thinking, oh my God, it's real. At that moment, it was just like, it became real. I was always a believer, but now I was seeing it. It was right there in front of me, and it was hovering there absolutely silently above those trees. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm staring and staring and looking and looking. And then I had the idea. It's like, I got to see this with my own eyes. So I'm holding the binoculars, looking at it. I lower it, and I can see the tree silhouette. I can see the night sky, but there's nothing there. And I'm like, oh my God, it left. It took off just that quick. It's gone. So I'm like, no. And then I look it up. It's still there. I lower the binoculars. It's gone. There's nothing there. Raise, I can see it, lower it. So I'm like this. Oh my God, my head is just blowing up because I realized they can hide. They could be right above your house, floating 5 feet from your roof, and they could hide. You wouldn't see them. They could land in your driveway. You wouldn't see it.
Yep.
And I was just absorbing all of this moment in just a flurry of thoughts and revelations and stuff. And I'm absolutely flipping out. And then it dawned on me. I'm down here looking at them, and this thing is just sitting there stationary above the trees. Chances are I'm the only thing going on in this valley. They're looking at me. And then I got uncomfortable. I was like, oh God, I didn't feel like I needed to be probed that night or anything. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. I shut them off. I went inside, locked the doors, and paced. And I'm peeking out the windows to see if anybody's coming. And that was the whole experience. So for whatever reason, it was there. It was there. I don't know why, but I think of all the variables. It's like, either that was like a divine guidance, like, oh, you want to see this? Okay, here it is. The light of God was like, I'm going to show you. Or somehow these things just decided to show themselves to me. But I was in a place that I'd never, been much other than just random visiting. I had the one tool that would allow me to see them. Without this, I would have never seen anything. I would have never, if I didn't have night vision, I would have never known it was there. And so what are the odds? It's just astronomical that I would be in the right place at the right time with the right equipment, and they would be there as well. And that was my experience. Now, I don't have any missing time. I paced for hours and hours, and I think at about 3:00, I finally just, you did the adrenaline dump and fell asleep. But that was my experience. And the first thing I did when I got home was go on Amazon and order those exact night vision binoculars. And I've seen other things since then with those things.
That's awesome. And so you think that you were thinking, though, that they saw you. That's the thing.
Well, they had to have. I mean, they were just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. I'm like, I wonder what they're doing. Oh my God, they're looking at me.
Yeah, that would freak me out right there.
If you see one passing by, it's like, oh, I saw that.
Big deal.
Really
yeah,
cool.
okay, yeah.
But it's like, why would they be sitting above that treetop, not moving, and I'm sitting out in the driveway of a, and looking up at them? They're like, hey, check it out. You can see us.
They saw you. It's like, and that's the creepiest of that story. A great story, by the way. It's not creepy, but that would give you the thought, wow, these alien visitors, they can see me. They can see me. And that's like, you just try to get away from that beam. You don't want that beam coming down and sucking you up into the base of the craft.
I don't need a fire in the sky kind of thing. Yeah.
No, you do not.
Yep. So, true story. Yeah. Very, very wild. And it's when that became real. It's like, I know now. I know.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty awesome.
Thanks, man.
I do think, Tex, you got anything in closing, man? I'm going to close this up here in a minute. Before you do that, though, Tex, I do want to thank Sinfully Wicked for 2 months worth as a member for 2 months as a pirate. Thank you, matey. Scotty and Kelly for your awesome super chats. Appreciate you guys. Helps pay a couple bills for the internet. So I always appreciate that. Thank you so much. Tex, any final notes before we move on?
Well, we can talk about what's going on tonight.
Sure,
I know we've got Monica's show. She's been on hiatus for a week or two, so she'll be back tonight with me and Breezy, and then tonight or tomorrow night we're having a panel show with the girls.
I think that's tonight.
That's tonight.
So,
they got canceled. Brent will be over there. Yeah, we're doing a fun little show. They had a cancellation tonight. Thank you, Krista, lurking about. Thank you. We'll be out with Krista tonight doing a panel show. That'll be a lot of fun. So go check out, subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze.
What time is the Blondes and the Booze tonight, by the way?
Don't ask me, man. I think it's 9 Central.
Krista, what time is your show tonight? Because I don't know what time to be there yet.
8 Central.
What'd you say? 8 Central?
8 Central. 8 Central. So that is Pacific time 7.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
3 hours. You're 3 hours behind. You're 2 hours behind the girls.
Yep. Okay. So
3 hours behind me.
6 p.m. All right, I'll make note of it.
38 right now.
Okay. Text, do you mind texting me? And
8 p.m. Central, says Krista. So yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I'll be there. Absolutely.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, it's been a lot of fun being here, brother. Thanks again for having me on, and good to see you, Tex, brother. It's been wonderful, and I'm a pirate, so.
Yeah, you are. Thank you. And yeah, I like having Brent. Brent, you'll see Brent on this channel when we don't have guests on. So then we can chit chat, me, Brent, and Tex. That's what we typically do on the non-guest shows. You got to give Brent a break because Brent's popping up all over the interweb as well.
I know. I'm like a bad rash. I'm just spreading everywhere, Rob.
And and everybody, I'll be on Brent's show probably. Well, we'll confirm that, Brent. Probably maybe Wednesday. I'll pop in like you asked me to do. So
yeah,
go talk to your audience.
Depending on what the boss says when this weekend, but I might be over on Brent's show Saturday night. So
yep, we'll have Tex on the portal on Saturday, maybe, hopefully, and yeah. Otherwise, thanks again, guys.
That'd be great because you can send people over to me since I'm going back to 11 o'clock in East on Saturday night, the late show at the Gals, and of course Tex. And Brent, you can pop in, if you want, and when you're done. I appreciate you. You're always welcome on the late night show, the late show, as we say. It's always a fun show. Thanks everybody for coming on and subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob if you're new. Texas Front Porch. Brent Thomas with the Paranormal Portal. Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. Donnie Cho says stuff. Monica Rollins, our Paranormal World, Paranormal Paul, Danielle Diva, and I believe Truth or Tinfoil. I haven't been promoting Truth or Tinfoil. I found out and got slapped on the wrist by Brandy.
Brandon?
Or maybe it was Randy. I don't know. But yes, check them out as well. With that being said, check out the Blondes and Booze tonight. That'll be a fun show. Thanks to everybody. And I just got to do a little circling around, navigating amongst all of these icons I've got. And I'm coming up close to it. All right, here it is. See you guys all. Thanks. Like button on your way out. BMR.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.